Hello and welcome to my garage. Today we're going to be putting the short engine and gearbox back into the MGB. If you joined me last year, you'll know that the engine went away for its sort of annual refresh at the end of last season. It's come back, all looking good so far. We've got a few little bits to fit on it, and then we'll be starting to join the gearbox and transmission together and fit them in the car. So let's get started. We've got a nice fresh engine here, pretty much ready to go. There's a few sort of ancillary bits to add on. We've got engine mounts to put on either side. We've also got the clutch to fit at the rear here. I will just double check the torque on these flywheel bolts just to make absolutely sure they're fine, but I'm sure the guys at Automotive Services have done a great job on this. Around this side we've got there's the oil cooler takeoff there to fit, and also the motor mount on this side. To get started, I'm going to start with the motor mount on this side. Get that all fixed up, and then we'll carry on. So for the motor mount on this side, this is the sort of, as you're sat in the car, it's going to be the left hand side. You've got a little sort of it's a countersunk sort of screw in there. Not the easiest to get at. So what I tend to do is just use a little screwdriver to sort of force that across, and then that should be enough to get this nut tightened. So let's start by just sort of putting this in loosely. Oops. I'm actually going to start off with this larger bolt that goes at the bottom there. So tiny bit of anti-seize as usual on these, and then it's a spring washer. And then I think if I could just put that first one through its hole, just to sort of locate it, then we just want to put that lower one in. You can just see what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to do that. I don't want to do this up too tight yet, so that's just sort of not even finger tight in there. Then we're going to get these screws back in. So again, we're just going to use the screwdriver to hold that open, and then we can put that one on. And then we've got the next one here. This one has also the battery earth on it. What I'll do is just pop that in there. Battery earth on the outer side of it, so it's easy to get out if we need to. And then we'll just pull these up. Then we move the camera around so we can see properly. So I'm just going to use the screwdriver to sort of wedge that in place. Get the right socket on the end of that, which is down there. Just use the screwdriver, and then I haven't got a tightening torque for these, but they're sort of, what are they? They're a 5/16 thread, so probably about 20 foot-pounds will be absolutely fine. I'm just going to do these by hand though, just to sort of pinched up, and I think that should be absolutely fine. With the lower bolt we can get the screwdriver in a bit more. And now I'm just thinking where that earth wants to sort of end up. I think we sort of want it round there, like that. I think we'll have it so it's sort of not pointing the wrong direction. That seems determined that it wants to. Hang on. There we go. Let's pinch that last bit up, and then I'll finish with the bigger bolt at the bottom, which is the 9/16 headed one. Again, I haven't got a torque for this, so we just want to give it a good sort of pinch up to hold it all in place. There we go. Now I'm going to move around and do exactly the same with the other side. So the right hand side here is exactly the same. Again, we'll just use a little bit of anti-seize on this lower bolt just to get that started. Also turn that a bit of the way in to hold everything in place. And then we've got the two upper nuts and bolts that just go. These are a lot easier to do because you can get an access on both sides. So just a touch of the anti-seize, and they can go back in. So it's just a 1/2 inch spanner to tighten these up. Just a good good pinch should be all you need. I wasn't able to find a sort of specified torque for these. And then we'll just finish with the 9/16 headed one at the bottom. That looks pretty good. The final thing I've got to put on is just the this alternator mount here that goes at the front. And then again, it's just a 9/16. Just sort of pinch this up. I might need a spanner to go on the end of this. Let me just see what happens. Let me just go and grab a spanner for that. So the right hand side here is exactly the same. Again, we'll just use a little bit of anti-seize on this lower bolt just to get that started. Also turn that a bit of the way in to hold everything in place. And then we've got the two upper nuts and bolts that just go. These are a lot easier to do because you can get an access on both sides. So just a touch of the anti-seize and they can go back in. Just a 1/2 inch spanner to tighten these up. Just a good pinch should be all you need. I wasn't able to find a sort of specified torque for these. And then we'll just finish with the 9/16 headed one at the bottom. That looks pretty good. The final thing I've got to put on is just the this alternator mount here that goes at the front. And then again, it's just a 9/16. Just sort of pinch this up. I might need a spanner to go on the end of this. Let me just see what happens. Let me just go and grab a spanner for that. So I'm just going to hold that in place with a spanner and just give that a pinch up. That's it. So that's the front mounts now on. So we can turn the engine around and we'll have a look at the flywheel bolts on the rear. In order to check the flywheel bolts, I've just put a long torque wrench through the front pulley bolt there. And then what I'm going to do is just going to run around these very quickly just before we put the clutch on to double check that everything's right. I'm sure they will be, but it's always never a bad idea just to sort of double check these things. So I've got my torque wrench here set to 54 Newton meters. It's about 40 foot-pounds. I'm just going to very carefully just click round on these. Just to double check, and as I suspected, they are all absolutely fine. So let's look at this clutch assembly next. So we've got our clutch assembly ready to go. Now let me just take out these clutch cover bolts first of all. It's also worth good to check at this time that you've got your brass bushing there that the gearbox attaches to. Very easy to forget. So that's these bolts out. Let's give this a very light spray with a bit of degrease. I mean, it does all look nice and clean in there anyway, but just to make it absolutely sure when we put this new clutch in. Okay, so we've got the clutch friction plate here. Now this is handed, so you can see you've got kind of a thicker side on one side, and that will be going in like that, with the fat side going into the cover. So on this, in my case, I'm actually using the old clutch friction plate, but a brand new cover. So we'll drop those two together, and then in terms of a clutch alignment tool, I've got this, which is quite nice. It's an old part of the gearbox, so it does do quite a nice job. It's quite nice and sort of chunky as well, so you can line it all up. This cover has been balanced, so I'm going to turn to find that little green dot, and then hopefully this will all sort of sit. I'm just going to get a soft face mallet to sort of tap these in. I do find with these helix covers they can be a bit on the stiff side. I'm going to beat it too much to make it go in, so we just try and give it a... That's it. So I think we've got all our pins are going in nicely. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'll get started on these on the bolts. So we'll get these going in. Just make sure that's still aligned nicely, the clutch. I'm going to go round to start off with just the ratchet. So just gently pull these up. Try and make sure we sort of do it nice and even. So I'll go sort of from one side to the other when I tighten up. I can just see the plates. It's all sort of coming together fairly nicely. I think I can't take that anymore, so I think I'll leave that where it is actually. I can see that these are all pinching down quite nicely, and I can see that that clutch cover plate is drawing up flat to the flat to the flywheel now. So let's draw this out. There we go. Now what I'll do now, I'm going to go round with the torque wrench and just finish these off. I think it's 25. I'm just going to double check the torque on these. So the torque on these is 25 to 30 foot-pounds. I'll do that 30 foot-pounds, which is 40 Newton meters. So let me just get this set up. And again, I'll just sort of go around, just giving them a sort of quarter pull or a half pull first, before we put the full torque onto them. So that's number one done. We'll go around again. Let's get in here. 2, 3. So I think that's all 6 done, but let me start from the top and go around just to make absolutely sure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's that's them all done. Next thing now, we're going to be looking at getting this, getting the gearbox attached to the rear here. So I've got the gearbox here, ready to go back on the car. This has been rebuilt for me by the guys at JP Race Shop over at Silverstone. I'm going to slot this in first. We'll just try and get a couple of the long bolts started around here if we can. So I've pushed the engine up against the table there to try and stop it sliding forwards. It does have a tendency, unfortunately, to start skating off when you try and put these two parts together. So I think this all looks good to go. We've got our roller release bearing in there. Nothing else to add really. So let's see what happens. And also, you might be able to see, I've just got an axle stand at this end. This is just to take the weight of the gearbox when it goes on the engine. Engine at the moment doesn't have the head on it, so it's going to be a little bit lighter, and I'm worried it may just tip up when we put this on. So let's take a look at this and we'll see how it goes. So just try and line up those splines if we can. Now this does seem to be very difficult today, I don't quite know why, but I'm going to try popping a car into gear and just seeing, I'm just going to see if this helps at all. So I think finally we've got it going. Let me get a bolt started to hold everything in place. So these ones, they go in through the back, so through the gearbox bell housing into the back of the engine there. So I'm just going to get a couple of these just started. So we've got all these nuts and bolts started now. So I'm going to go around and just gently start pinching these up. So a bit like we've done before, we'll just we'll go around. They're all through, so we shouldn't have any problem with them sort of binding up. We just to keep everything as nice and even as we can. I've just raised the back of the gearbox a bit so I can get to these two that are down here at the bottom. Because I run one of these little high torque starter motors on the car, I can actually get this fitted before I put the engine in. It does make things an awful lot easier. So I'm just going to sort of put it in just about in position, and then underneath I've got this sort of a captive bolt at the bottom there. So what I'm going to do is just get the top one in, which is the coarse one. So again, a little bit of anti-seize on there. I don't do this up too tight. It's just to sort of support it while I do the bottom one up, because the bottom one is a lot harder to access than the top one. If you've got the normal starter motor in your car, you probably won't be able to fit it before you put the engine in. I just don't think you'll have the space to do it. So let me just get that sort of started. Even with the engine out of the car, my access is pretty tight under here, so I'm going to need a. So this little short 9/16, because I can't really show you it with the camera, but the access here is really tight. So we're just gonna wind this in. Unfortunately, the closer I get to this lower bolt being tight, the sort of the tighter the access gets as well. So at the end here, I'm only really able to do sort of an eighth of a turn to try and get this nut done up. And when you're under the car, that is a real pain. So let me just keep winding the top one up. I think that can, yes, I can take the top one most of the way in now. And then I'll just try and get the last few turns on this bottom one. So I've just got a normal 9/16 spanner just to try and put the last final bit on this. It's don't want to put too much on it, just enough to sort of hold it tight. I think that's about as much as I dare, and then the top one will just pull up. Again, you're going into aluminium, so you don't need to put too much on it, just enough to hold it. I think that's going to be enough. So that's the starter motor on. Obviously, with a normal size starter motor, I don't think you can fit this before you put it into the car. Next, I'm going to put on the oil filter housing. I've got a new rubber to go into the sort of cavity there. So I'm just going to put a little smear of silicone around it, not too much. Just helps to sort of hold it in place as I assemble it. I don't think a little bit of oil will probably be just as good. I've just a tiny bit of that to sort of stick that in. It's always worth checking this part, because often you can have the old seal left in there and you may not realise, so give that a clean out if it's still got the old seal in it. And then I've got the filter housing, the filter sort of housing to go on, possibly a little bit different to what's on your vehicle. This is sort of the late, I think this is a 1970s type, so 74 type, where the filter sits on, it's a hanging filter rather than sitting on the top, which for me I quite like, because it means you can pre-fill it before you put the filter on the car. So this one's I usually put this on, I sort of angle this takeoff at about sort of, it's about 90 degrees to the engine, and then for the bolt I'm going to put a little bit, rather than antis, I'm going to put a bit of thread lock on this, because I have had this sort of come loose in the past, and because we're sort of going into an aluminium piece here, we can't put too much torque onto this. So let me just wipe a tiny bit of that thread lock off. There we go, let's put this in. This is probably an easier job to do with this off the car. And then just sort of turn it to about, what I'm going to do actually, I'm just going to grab an oil filter. So I've got an oil filter. It's just to check my clearances, really, just to make sure that I'm not going to interfere with anything. So let me just get that. Oops. Get that started. So I think if we have it probably around about there, it needs to be. I think. Yeah. So it's not quite 90. We're just a little bit off 90. Let me just get the socket for that. So I'm just going to sort of tighten this up as much as I dare, really. I need to do it now, because once the oil filter is installed, you won't be able to access this. So that's just, I think that'll do. So that's most of our ancillaries bolted on now. One final thing before we try and put this back in the car, I'm going to fill the gearbox up with oil. Good time to do it now, because it's obviously a lot easier than once it's into the vehicle, and certainly on the earlier cars it's easier than the later ones. So I'm just going to pop a funnel in the top there. The gearbox oil I use is the Castrol 2050, again from OP Oil, is my usual supplier. It's a 2050, so it's the same as the engine oil in a sort of a normal road car. I don't think it matters whether you've got a normal gearbox or one with overdrive too. So I'm just going to start filling this up now. So it's around sort of 3 litres, but it does tend to take a bit of a time because this oil is fairly thick. I really could have put this inside for a bit first to warm up, but it's going in well enough. I'm just going to turn the can around. I'm just hoping this doesn't sort of make things difficult in a bit when we try and lift it up. So I worry this is going to be a little bit back heavy when it goes into the car, but we'll sort of see how it goes, and hopefully we'll be able to get in okay. I'll just put a little drip tray underneath to catch any spillage. We will be checking the level again once it's in the car, but if we get around sort of 3 litres in, so we're on we're at the bottom of the stick, it does make life a lot easier for us later on. So I'm gonna take a little look now and just see sort of where we are on the dipstick. See what it says. Okay, so we're well, about a third up the level there, so that's enough for now. I'm happy with that. What I'm going to do now is we won't put any more oil in, but we'll check this again once it's back in the car. So now I've got the engine crane in position in the corner of the garage with the engine underneath. It's well worth getting all this lined up before you hook the engine up to the crane. It's a lot easier to move obviously when it's unladen. The car is sort of midway in and out of the garage at the moment. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a rainy, miserable day, and so it's going to get a little bit on the wet side. But I think I'm happy with everything's position. So I'm going to jack the car up and get it onto stands. And I think today sometimes I do it at a bit of an angle on the jack, but I think I'm just going to pick it all the way up and put it on its stands for me off, and just see how that works. Because I'd like to try and get the gearbox crossmember fitted with the sort of gearbox hanging down, and then we'll see if we can get it all into place. So let me put the camera back on the stand, and I'm going to get the car jacked up so we're ready to go. Okay, so now we've got the car up on axle stands, and I think we're ready to start dropping the engine back in. I've put the stands on the 2 chassis rails there, which I'm hoping is going to give me just enough access to drop the engine and gearbox back in. You may notice at the front here, on my car I have to remove this the steering rack assembly. Basically, because the front pulley on the engine is quite big, I can't actually get the fan belt onto this onto the pulley with the steering rack in place. It also saves me damaging this when I try and slide the engine in. Otherwise, we're just going to sort of tuck everything else out of the way. I put a little bit of a cover over the steering rack there just to protect it. The clutch slayer cylinder is just hanging down at the bottom there as well. So we're going to get started with getting the hooks onto the engine. Because I'm doing a short engine today, I would usually put the hooking eyes onto the head, but that's not here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for two bolts into where the head studs would go, and hopefully that will be enough to hold the engine up for us. We'll see how the balance is. As I said, with the gearbox in place, it may affect things slightly, but we're just going to have a look and see how it goes. So this is us all in position now. I've just been around the engine, done a last quick spanner check before we put it into the car. Just makes things a bit easier for access. You can see we've got these UNC bolts that are going to hold the hangers in place. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping it's going to balance okay. My main objective will be to get the gearbox sort of in the car and drop down, and then what I can do hopefully is to get the crossmember mounts in position, which are just up under here. Where are they? There they are. Yes, I'm going to try and sort of have this a little bit lower down. Just makes that crossmember a bit easier to access. Okay, so let's give this a try and see what happens. You can see I've got a jack under the rear of the gearbox there. Basically, the axle stand was required, so that had to go under the car. So I'm going to raise this up, sort of first of all, and hopefully I'm going to be able to take that jack out of the way. Because I will need this once the gearbox goes into the car. So I'll just keep supporting it for now, just so it's not swinging about too much. In terms of protection, I've just got a microfiber cloth just on the back of the gearbox here. When that goes into the tunnel, it can sort of chip the paint a bit, and then a little bit on the front here. Actually, I don't really bother with wing protectors. I know people have asked me about it in the past, but I find I just work just as well without them. I don't like to rest tools or anything on the wing and risk things getting sort of caught under there. So that's lifting up quite well now, and it's actually balancing pretty much where I'd like it to be. So I'm going to keep pumping up. Just make sure that's nice and tight. I'm going to use this little jack under the car to support the gearbox when it comes in. So drop that down there. And now we're going to see. It's going to be a bit tight, but let's see how we get on jacking this up. It might be because the car's up a bit higher than I'd usually do this. I may struggle a bit, but let's carry on. Well, we'll see what happens, I think. I'll just try and get it so we're nicely lined up to go into the car. I'm hoping everything's going to just sit right for us. So I think we might be ever so close, I think. So we're just going to drop this down a tiny bit. that's how it's lined up. And now we're getting a bit closer. I'm going to start dropping that in. Just come back a tiny bit. So we've got a couple of bits to be careful of here. Obviously the top bit by the bonnet, and this bottom bit here that's going to hopefully slide into that tunnel, and also the front apron as well. So let's really gently just slide this in. So our eyes everywhere at the moment to see what's going where. But I think we're all, we're looking pretty good. I'm going to come down a touch more, so as close as I can, and we're just going to slide it. And that's, if I could just show you at the back there, hopefully you can see that's where that microfiber cloth's important, just where it's touching on the body there. Coming a bit further, I think we've cleared this front apron. Just gonna have a look around. Looking pretty good. So again, we'll slide it, and I'm just hoping we're not going to catch these. Hoping we're not going to catch the two axle stands under the car. So again, that's all falling in pretty well. I'll keep easing it back. Again, just be careful on the where the bonnet and the top of the crane are. I think I can probably drop this most of the way in now. See, I think what I might have a look at now is doing this. I'm going to leave this where it is, make sure that's nice and tight, and I'm going to have a look underneath and see if we can do these the gearbox cross member. So I've had a quick look under the car, and we're ready to get the cross member in. It can be a bit of a confusing one to know its orientation. Basically, the front, there's a little hole there, and the hole on my car is the rear part of the cross member. I think this is actually a later one than the car should have. Then also with these sort of the mounting parts, the longer part of the triangle goes at the rear. You should have a flat face at the front and a long part at the rear. These are notoriously difficult to get on, which is why I sort of stopped the engine procedure halfway through and try and get this into place. So I'm going to drop down under the car now. We'll see what we can do. Okay, so let's have a little look under here now and see what we can do. We've got the that's where these bolts need to go. So let me just see if I can get. Usually getting the first one started isn't a problem. It's getting all the other ones in as well. So let me just see if I can. So I think that's the first one started this side. I'm going to try and get a second one in as well, and then I'm going to move around to the other side of the car. I would say at the moment we don't want to do these up too tight. We just want to get them started. Okay, so let me move around to the other side now. Okay, so we're now around to the other side. We're going to try and just get these started as well. They can be a real pain. Whether they're going to be kind to me today, I don't know. So let me just see if we can get this started. I might try the one up here because it's just a little bit easier to get my fingers in there. So I'm hoping I've just managed to get this rear one started now. Unsurprisingly, the one side's always a bit easier to get in the other, so I think this has started. So I'm just going to pull this in a little bit. I haven't cross-threaded that. Did just go tight then, so I'm not sure if that's quite where it should be, but let me just see if now that one's started whether I can get this lower one in. I can possibly take the upper one out again. But they are a devil of a job, they really are. So I think I've got the 4 bolts loosely started now. It's a bit hard to tell. I'm just worried this one at the back is cross-threaded. But before I go any further, what I'm going to do now is jack this this gearbox up. So we need to basically hook it in over the rear part here. So let me move the camera back and we'll get moving again. So I'm just going to use the little floor jack to get under the gearbox cross member. And what I need to do is lift this up. And what I might have to do is pull it forwards a bit. Let me just see. Oh no, that's come back. That's come back way too far. So I'm going to have to go back to the engine and pull it out a little bit. So let me just move that under there a touch. Let me see if I can raise this up a bit now. The trouble is, as I lift it, it's pushing it back into the body. So let me just see if we can hook that over now. So that looks pretty good, I think. Hopefully that will just clear. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to try and lower the front a bit, and then we can hopefully slide this into place. So I think we need to lower the front all the way now, and then we can slide it in. Yeah, that has cleared. I'm just going to take a little bit of weight. I'll just lower it a bit too much, unfortunately. That's it. And then we'll try and slide it all the way in now. So I'll just take you back around to the front. You can see that these front mounts are pretty much where they need to be. That one's a little bit high on this side. I think also I've put this engine earth on the wrong place. That's going to have to come back up here, but that shouldn't be. I should be able to do that in situ. We'll see how that goes. What I'm going to do now, though, is I think I'm going to get these gearbox cross member bolts all tightened up, and then we can come back into the front here. I've still just left a little bit of tiny bit of tension on the engine crane here, but I think not too much. That's it. So to start off with, I'm going to try and get a couple of these outer gearbox cross member bolts started. They are a little bit tricky. Let me just get a. So I've got the main weight supported on the jack still. I'm just going to use a sort of a little punch tool to just see if I can manoeuvre that. I'm going to get them started, but not sort of tight. Okay. So I think that's the two. Those two on this side. I'm just going to move around to the other side and do exactly the same. So both sides are now torqued up on the on this cross member. So let me drop the jack down. Should all stay in one place. And I'm going to have another go now at the little bolts that hold the gearbox and the cross member together. So I've moved the crane right out the way. I've tried to get under the car a bit more. So unfortunately with the rain here, working with my legs sticking out means I'm getting a bit wet. So let me move that camera right around a bit. It's just not all that easy to see. So don't know quite how much will be picked up. So I'm going to do these front ones first of all. They are just the most horrendous nuts and bolts. So tuck right up out of the way. Hard to see, hard to get started, but unfortunately they do need doing. And I'm going to
probably going to get my head right in the way. And I'm going to try and see if I can get this one. So it looks like I'm pretty close to being in the right place. It just felt like it crossed up a bit as it went in. Hopefully you'll be able to see. What I've had to do is I've brought the little jack back round to sort of lift the gearbox up slightly, and hopefully I'll be able to get this bolt started now. But they can be so, well, they are difficult. I was really hoping to get these started before getting the cross member in, but that just didn't happen. So now we're struggling a bit trying to get these things in. I think that might have just, hopefully might have just started. So let me just find a spanner. Unfortunately, access under here really isn't great, and I don't know if you'll even be able to see what I'm doing anyway. I think move the camera around a bit further for you. You can see this one unfortunately has been the tricky one. I think he's just got started now, so let me pinch that up. There we go. Just in case you can't see, I'm just going to hold the camera up so you can just see the bolts as I do them up. So I'll put that back down again now. I'll pause the video again now for a moment because I'm just going to go around and tighten these up. So we've gone around and done all 4 of these up now. Again, not too much torque on them, just a gentle pinch up because the metal they're going into is quite soft. That's now those 4 done, and I'm going to move to the back of the gearbox now, and we're going to start looking at the prop shaft. So our next job is going to be the universal, or the prop shaft, the universal joint, attaching the 2 up. Now you've got to be a bit careful because it does have to go on a certain way, and it is easy to put it on the wrong way around. So let me just slide the 2 in. You've got sort of a long gap between holes and a short gap. So let me just see if I can. I think that's the right way around. Yeah. So let me just see. I don't know if you'll be. I'm hoping I'm. Probably put my hand right in the way of the camera then when I was doing that, but hopefully you'll be able to see sort of what we've got here. So we've got these the little bolts have got a little cut out, so they'll sort of slide into position. So what I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to get started. I'm getting these at least the nuts onto where they need to go. So again, I hope you can see if I move the camera maybe to about there. So these are fairly straightforward. They're a sort of an aero nut with the sort of a stiff end on them, just so they don't come loose. Doesn't something falling into your eye though. So maybe once I get one or 2 started, it's going to be a little bit easier. So we just turn the whole lot around. Get our next one into position, and again, it's a spring washer and one of these stiff nuts. I'll go as tight as I can with my fingers because I'm pretty sure, I'm confident I've got it in the right way round. There we go. So again, then that final one. So now with all four started, what I'll do is I've got a little punch here that I put through the rear universal joint to hold it in place, and then I'll just use the spanner to tighten these down. Which is a bit of a slow job, but it needs to be done, unfortunately. You can just get the ring on at the end just to finish that off. So that's the first one done. Well, I think I'm going to do the opposite one. They're one of those MGB jobs. It's not terrible, but it's just it's one of those ones that's just fairly time consuming. I don't know of any quicker way to do this. If anyone wants to add a suggestion or comment, I'd be more than happy. I'll punch in the end to hold it all stiff, hold it all tight, and then there we go. So that's pulled up nicely. Let's go on to number 3. Just grab that punch again. I will just check all 4 of these are okay. Okay, that's all 4 done. So we're going to move round now just to look at the clutch slave cylinder. So if you remember, when we took this off the car, we just used a couple of zip ties to hold the plunger in place, because it can sort of fall out on its own. I will be bleeding the system anyway, because I think that the level in the reservoir has dropped. It's always sensible just to give it a quick go before the season starts anyway. So let's get these zip ties out, and you can see what we've got to aim for. That's the plunger. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the pin through the plunger first, and then the bolts after. So let me just, there we go. So I always put the plunger through going top to bottom. The reason being, if I do lose the clip or anything, it should sort of hold in place and not fall out on its own. So let me just see if I can get that in there. I've probably got my hand right in the way of the camera, and the plunger has just come free, but that doesn't matter. Let's just put that back in there, and I'm going to try and get one of these bolts started if I can. So again, we've just got I put a little bit of the anti-seize on these before they go in. And if I can just squeeze, yes, I'll be able to squeeze that enough to get that second one in as well. So let me just get that up in there, and then it's a 9/16 ratchet to tighten these up. Unfortunately, with filming under the car, I do seem to get myself in the way of the camera a lot. So let me just see. I'm going to connect the steering rack back up next, so I'm just going to check the wheels have sort of stayed pretty much in line. I'll just remove this. I'll remove this sleeve that I used to sort of protect it while I was putting the engine in and out. And then I have marked the top of it, so that I know when it's lined up properly with the knuckle. So let me sort of do this bit first of all. Top nut through. I think it's 20 foot-pounds on this one, so we'll do that in a moment. But let me just get that started for now. And then I hopefully I should be able to get these ones in the bottom. So I've just painted a little drop of anti-seize on these. I can see where that sort of needs to go. So let me just move that up there. Hopefully that means I should get this. Yeah, that's just started now. I'm not going to do any of these too tight, but I'm going to work around and get all of these started. You can see I've just put the fan belt back on, because once this is in place, I can't get at that pulley. I'm just going to I want to get all 4 in and started before I start putting any of them up. I didn't see a quoted torque in the book for these, but I guess if we aim for around 20 foot-pounds or so, we won't be far off. So again, just to start off with, I don't want to do them too tight until all four are nice and snug, nice and sort of fitted properly. Now the one underneath, it does have a sort of a fixing to keep it in place, but I'm just going to put a spanner on there anyway to make sure we don't strain anything. Okay. So now they're all in. Let's just pinch your 4 up. There we go. I'm going to get the torque wrench. We'll just we'll put 20 foot-pounds on that last one there, and that's the steering rack back in place. So our steering rack's all tightened up again. Now let's take these bolts out of the cylinder head, and we can take all this away. I think for now I will cover this back up again with our polythene sheet, just to make sure nothing falls in. There we go. So that should stay in place now. I'm going to turn my attention now to the. I'm going to be looking at the mounting bolts here for the engine, the engine mounts. So let me just move the camera slightly, and you should be able to see here what I've sort of got to tackle. Obviously our mount isn't quite aligned yet with what's underneath, so I'm going to get a little punch and start drawing these into position. I'm probably just going to get the bolts through to start with before getting the nuts tightened up, because I want to do both sides, and a little bit of movement's helpful. The other thing, I'm just going to see if I can undo this this lower nut and bolt here, because I think that battery earth's in the wrong place. So I'm going to see if I'm going to get the screwdriver in just behind, that I'm hoping will just hold that in place enough for me to undo the bolt on the front. Yeah, I think we've been lucky. We've got away with that, I think. But take this spring washer off. I think I'll move the camera again, so I think unfortunately I'm probably working right where you need to be looking. So let me just move that around a bit. Just lay a bit of cloth down here, so I've got somewhere to put the tools on whilst I'm working down here. Okay, so let's get that spring washer off. And then back on. I always think it's nice with the battery to mount it in a position where you can remove it if you need to, just to change it. And if you start putting it behind here or anything, it does make it a bit harder to get at. So let's tighten this one back up. Just enough on the screwdriver there to tighten it up. Next I'm going to be moving on to the engine mounts, and you might be able to see here the holes are sort of close, but they're not quite right. So what I'm going to do is get a little punch in here, a very slim one, and just try and move these holes in position, and then get the correct bolt into each one. At this stage, I won't be tightening the bolts up until I've got both sides in. You can see on the other side there as well. That's not, the gap's a little bit worse there. So we're just going to work slowly and get one bolt in at a time. I won't tighten them up just yet. So let me get started with the top one first of all. Let's see how we get on with this. I can just hopefully just get this in enough to start manoeuvring, because I do find sometimes you get one in and then another one moves. So let me just try and, I think I might try and aim for the one at the lowest one first, which is this in this bottom corner here. Okay, so how far am I off now? I don't think you're going to have the best of view from where the camera is, but unfortunately I've got nowhere of sort of putting it on the side. But let me see. So I can get one in. It's going to be this rear low one that's the most difficult, and I can't really show you very easily what I'm doing. I'm just basically moving this punch to try and line up the hole as best I can, and then dropping a bolt in. I really need the sort of camera up here, and I haven't got anywhere to mount it to, but it's really not all that far off at the bottom. So let me just try that one again. It's really close. I think. Oh, come on. You just sort of got to. There we go. You've got to angle this bracket part with your tool to get it to line up. Now I think this one might be a little bit tricky. Let me just see what we can do. Okay. So the other thing I have used in the past is especially on a brand new mount, is a G clamp to try and get it into place. I'm just going to get it's going to get a hammer. So that's all four in on that side, and as I said, I'm going to leave these just as they are. I'm not going to put the nut on the back just at the moment. I'm going to work around to the other side now. So I've tried putting the camera on a tripod for this side. I mean, I know hopefully you'll just be able to see what I'm doing with the punch tool. I know from the other side that you couldn't really see all that well as to what was going on. So let me. I'll get a bolt ready, and I can see I've got a little bit more work to do on this side, because they've sort of lined up better on the other side to this one. But there we go. So I'm going to try a very sort of small punch first, but I think these are a bit tight. I think what I'm going to try and do is get a G clamp first of all. This might allow me just to bring it in enough to get the first punch in. Let's see if I can get I doubt I'm going to get a bolt in. I'll just see if I can. I don't think I am, but what I'm going to do is put another punch in the hole, and then I can take that G clamp off for a minute. There we go. So let me work on again the lowest corner first. I think, if I can. I'm just sort of easing that punch a bit further in. That one's going to fall out on its own. Let me see that lowest rear bolt first of all. I'm not quite there, so I'll try putting that in there. Then at least holds holds things in position for me if I can get that one in. Still not quite. Let's try here. There we go. So at least with one in, we know it's not going to move. So let's have a look at the bottom now and see where it needs to go. I think we're not far off, but I can see the mount needs to sort of turn around a bit. I'll try a clamp on it again. I don't know if this will be enough or not though. It just tends to have a tendency to fall off. Of course the punch has got stuck. Let's try a bolt. I think they were far off, but I'm just not sure. Sort of halfway in. See if I can turn this the other way. Just got caught up a bit there. There we go, so that's dropped in. Hopefully you can see a little bit of what's going on. Unfortunately with the sort of confined space it's not that easy to see. So let me see if it's gone straight in. As the bolt nuts in my hand, I'm just going to put that one in position. Now the last one I've got is I use the nut and bolt for this connection for the battery. At the moment in my car the battery is disconnected, so I'm just going to take this back off again. I had it to test some electrics over the winter, but it is disconnected. Always worth, before you start work on the engine and removing the engine, to disconnect the battery and only connect it back up when you're all done. Obviously this is a hot wire, the one from the starter motor, one from the battery to the starter motor, and unfused. So you really don't want this dangling around and touching anything. That's my nut and bolt back. Now am I going to be lucky? Not quite. Just try a little pinch down. Just unfortunately I can feel it moving back. So I'll just try a hammer handle again. Just got in now, that'll be enough to pinch up in a minute. Now that each of the nuts, the bolts are through, I'll paint a little bit of the aluminium anti-seize on them. Just a tiny bit. I'll do the same the other side, and then we'll get them all. We'll get these all tightened up. Get all four of these started. So just got a spring washer on one side with the nut. And you will find this lower one tends to be the most difficult. I guess on my car I've got a steering rack running underneath it. If you've got a US spec car, you won't. But then I suppose you then have the issue on the other side. Let me see. Just carefully trying to get there. I wasn't able to see specified torque in the book, so we'll just do these up to a sensible amount. And as I said earlier, I would wait till you've got all four in on both sides before you start tightening, just in case you have to remove them for any reason at all. it's a little bit tighter for access around here where the mount is, but I think that should be tight enough. And hopefully I can just get the spanner on so the bottom one as well. So let's pull all these up now. I'm going to work around and do the other side now, so let me just move things quickly. Now on this side we should have the engine earth, but unfortunately that has got damaged, so I'm going to have to replace the cable for that. But for now I'll just put the bolts on these as normal, and when I think I'm either going to buy another strap and make one up. I just don't know what fittings I've got at the moment. And once that's ready we'll put that on. So for now we'll just do these up nicely. And just the same as we did for the other side, just give these a good pinch. You will find that the rubber of the engine mat does get in the way very slightly, especially on these ones down this side. So what I'll probably do is put the socket underneath and just use the open end of the spanner on top. I need to that just a bit more by hand first. There we go. Hopefully I'll just squeeze in for that lower one, and that is all. That's all like done. We will have to come back and revisit this though, just to sort out that engine earth strap. Back around this, so I've just put the alternator back on. I'm only going to do this on loosely for now. That can wait until we've sort of got the alternator in place. So let me just got to pull those just loose, and then once we've got the alternator in place, we will pinch these up properly. I think now I'm going to drop down in here and get the starter motor connections done. So down here on the starter motor, we've basically got a few of these sort of ring type eyelets, and then we've got a single spade connector, which is for the sort of the starter solenoid, or comes from the starter solenoid. So let me take I've got a little nut on here that I'll take off. Now on my car, this is one of the smaller high torque starter motors, but I think generally the connection's about the same. I think it still has, I think the original type of starter motor still has the same thing with the ring on top, and then the little clip under the spade underneath for the solenoid. So let me put this back on. So I'm going to put those forward. Obviously, as we said earlier, the battery is still disconnected. Leave that off until you're totally finished with the car. So while I can see it, I'm going to pop the spade in place, and the rings are all on. There we go. So I've got 1, 2. Yes, they're all in. I've got a spring washer, and then it's a flanged nut on top. Now I think this is a metric one. It's certainly a metric thread on this starter motor, not an imperial one. So let me get I'm worried you're not going to be able to see all that much, but hopefully you can just see what's going on enough. So we get a 14 spanner. Let me just tighten this up. And once it gets a little bit closer, I'll sort of hold I'm going to try and hold these bits in place. Just while we put the final sort of bit on, the final tightness on. So let me hold that now. Let's see if we can get in there and just get this to tweak up. Well, the axis isn't great. It hasn't moved all that much on its own, which is nice. You don't need to pull it up super tight. The flange nut does sort of stay fairly stiff on there. I think I'm happy with everything in there. A little helper out here with us this evening. Psst, psst, psst. There he is. Now we've got these side plates to go on next. This is the rear one, which doesn't have the sort of take off. I've got a little bit of the silicone grease around there, not the silicone that sets. It's just the sort of grease you can paint on. So that's going to go to the rear. And then we've got the bolt with just a bit of the aluminium anti-seize on this usually. Let me get that started. I'll check the torque. I think it's something like, it's a very low torque on it. Let me just take a look what it is. The quoted torque on it is 2 foot-pounds. I haven't got a torque wrench that goes that low, so we'll just give these a sensible pinch, but not too much. I think that'll be absolutely fine. Let's get the front one on as well. Now on the front one of these, I've had to use the cork gasket because the silicone one that I like from Moss is actually, I found it was actually too thick to then get the screw all the way in. So let's see how this works correctly. I think they are, and again, just a gentle pinch up on these, not too much. I think that should be more than enough to keep those in place. I'm going to get the oil cooler fitted next. So this is slightly different to the standard one. This is a Mocal one with jig fittings on it. As usual, we're going to get a little bit of the anti-seize grease on the bolts as we put those in. You can. Some races do run with these under the front apron. I'll just show you very briefly actually while I think of it. You'll see here there's 2 holes cut in the front apron there. That does allow you to mount. I don't know if I'll be able to show you. Let's see if things get in the way. That does allow you to mount. Probably won't be able to reach. So there we go. Hopefully. There's too much stuff in the way, but you can mount the cooler under that front apron if you want, and then sort of duct some air in. Not a bad system in fairness. It does sort of keep the airflow into the radiator a bit better. You will see as well, this is just a 10-row cooler, so at the start of the season when the temperatures are a bit cooler, I run a 10-row, and then sort of later on in the summer I run a 13-row. I really don't think there's any need for a bigger cooler than a 13-row. I have a temperature gauge in the car to show me the oil temperature, and even in summer I very rarely see above 110 degrees centigrade. And that's with the 13-row, you know, on a really hot day running fast. And I think you need a good reason to put, you know, anything bigger in these cars than the 13-row. And you know, if you are doing that, then you need to have a temperature gauge to see what your oil's doing. Optimal temperature for oil is 100 to 120 degrees centigrade. And if you can get it around that, it's going to be working. It's going to be working sort of optimum efficiency, burning the water out, and also, you know, the right consistency too. So let me just get these 4 little bolts started. I couldn't see a value for them, so I'm just going to give these a pinch up. They're only 1/4 thread, so we don't want to put we certainly don't want to put too much on them. Just a gentle pinch up on these is all we need to do. There we go. Just plug that down. It's obviously a good opportunity while the engine's out to get the engine bay cleaned up as best you can before refitting. I've still got a bit of dirt and things down here. I'm going to give that a wipe out. So now we can try and get the alternator fitted. It's nice and easy with the radiator that way. It's a little bit more difficult once that's back in. So let's have a look and see how it sits. You've got the lower sort of pulley part there. Let's get the belt just about on, and then we've got the front nut is that one. I don't know about the same anyway. And then let's get the rear one in as well. Now what I tend to do, I'm gonna sort of tighten this up at the bottom first, and then work backwards and finishing with sort of here last. We want to try and get this all as aligned as best we can. Unfortunately for me, the last thing I've had a problem with this car, and it has a bigger pulley on it, so that should slow it down. I've had the brake here, I've had the water pump ear brake as well. I mean, I put it down to wear and tear, but I'm only sort of getting 6 months out of an alternator sometimes, which is a bit frustrating. But I don't quite know how to resolve it at the moment. I bought this Hello one last year, which does seem to be working a bit better. So hopefully that will continue to work for me. So I'm just having a look, see if we want to see what sort of angle we've got there. I mean, I'm almost tempted to shave a little bit off the. I don't know actually. I think that should be okay. So at the bottom one there, we've got a flat washer and then a spring washer, and then the 9/16 headed nut. So let's put that in loosely. Top here, I've just got a flat washer and the nut. Just put those in finger tight for now. Okay, so I've got both these top bolts in just loosely for now. I'm just going to sort of lift this up and see if I can just get a bit of tension onto the belt. So let me just see. I think I'm going to have to tighten these up just a bit more. The whole lot's moving, so bear with me. I don't want them to be too tight so that it doesn't move. And again, this rear part isn't tightened down yet, so let me just pull these. So there should still be room for that to turn. So just see if I can do this by hand. I don't like to use a sort of a tool or anything on this. I just try and sort of pull it by hand. And then lock it into place. I'm going to be right. So let's try that. So let's see what we've. So I've got. I think that's going to be about there. I don't like to do these up too tight. I've had problems with this snapping in the past, and as soon as the belt just run a little bit loose, then start breaking mountings. I've even had the bottom part there break as well. So it just seems to be one of those parts on this car. I don't know if it's something I've done wrong with it, but it's certainly a bit of a weak spot. So I'm going to pinch these up. I'm going to need those. I think it's 30 foot-pounds on that. I'll just see if I can get a torque wrench in there quickly. But I'm not too bothered if not, in all honesty. Okay, let me just see. I don't want to do this too tight because it's obviously easy with the. There we go. That's fine. Easy with the radiator out of the way, but much harder once you've got the radiator and that front shroud in place. So let me just wind the torque wrench back. And then finally, I'm just going to tighten up these two bolts at the rear. There we go. So that's all done. Fairly happy with the alignment. Again, I don't know if I want to shave a little bit off that water pump, but it's very, very slight if that's out at all. So that's the alternator installed. We can put the plug in the back. That's our alternator now in place, and just to give you an idea of the amount of tension on the belt, I'll show you here on the longest part. I think it's probably around a centimetre or maybe a centimetre and a half of movement, about half an inch of gap on the belt there. Tiny bit at the top. Again, I don't like to do these up too tight. We'll leave it at that now. We can start moving on to this the front radiator area. I am quite fortunate with this car that the whole of the radiator assembly sort of drops in as one. I don't need to remove the sort of shroud part to get this in. So I'm just going to try and position this roughly where it needs to go. I think it's usually this sort of lower part that is the bit that might catch on your car. But that's there we go. So that's just dropped into place. the little bolts that go around the edge. So I'm just going to put a tiny bit of the anti-seize on these as usual. And then when I start, I do start off with these highest ones first. I just get them in enough to start the thread. So that's the top twin. I'll move the camera around now so you can see a little bit more of the detail. So I can work my way down this side now, just putting these screws in. As I said, I just want to get every single one in and started. I don't want to use a spanner or anything yet to start tightening them up. Just want them all located. And then one more just at the bottom there. Okay, so that's all 4 done on this side. I'm now going to work on the other side. So I've now got the 4 screws in on this side, and the 4 on the other side too. I'm going to go around now with the ratchet and just tighten all these up. So with a 1/2 inch socket, let's just pull these up gently. It is important to get all 8 in first, because I do find that if you don't get all 8 in, you might find you get one side bolted down tight and then the other side doesn't want to play. Here we are. So that's the 8, or the 4 done up on the driver's side. Let me do the passenger side now. Unfortunately, I have forgotten to fit the earth strap back on this side. In the end, I actually ended up just buying a new strap. I think this was £2 off eBay, and I didn't have the correct crimp connectors or the correct crimp, so quite a nice cheap fix. Unfortunately, I couldn't film fitting the earth strap very easy, but there it is back in the car. You can see here I've just gone for I think it's about the 10 centimetre strap, and the yellow is just on there as it's just the same for race cars in the UK. They do ask for a yellow coating on the earth strap. Just a very quick tip: if you're having trouble getting this this nut and bolt here to start, this is one of the sort of, it's a countersunk screw behind. You can just wedge a screwdriver in there, and that will hold it enough to get that nut tightened up. So there we go. I'm also going to fit an earth strap on the other side too, to give me 2 for this season. I was just a bit concerned because obviously this one had sort of degraded quite badly and I hadn't noticed it. So I'm going to put 2 on the car just to make sure I don't have any issues in the future with the engine earth. So moving back round to the front of the car now, we've got these the oil cooler takeoff pipe. So let me just take the bung back out, and then the cover from the other side too. Now it is just worth making sure in here is nice and clean. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of tissue. Just want to make sure we've got no sort of bits of grit or anything in here that's going to spoil that connection. So let's just do that, and we'll just clean the top of the oil cooler there as well. So let me just get that in. I'm just going to get these started by hand. So that's that one started on there, and we'll do the same. We'll do the same with this one. So they've both started by hand now, and then I'll get I've got some special aluminium spanners that I use to tighten these up. It's very important to support the fitting on the oil cooler with a spanner or a wrench, and then just pinch these down. I haven't got a torque for these. I mean, they are, you know, you'll see if they're loose very quickly. You'll have a little bit of oil weeping out of them, and it is one of those things that's worth just sort of checking every month, couple of months, so especially when it's just been done. When you just fitted these, to make sure that they do stay nice and tight. So I suppose as much as I don't want to give it for now, we'll keep an eye on these and just see what they're like once the car's running, and we'll do the same with this side. So the other thing we do need to try and hold these in place just so I tighten up, because I don't want that to move. I don't want that to move around too far. So yeah, that's probably enough
enough for now. As I said, we will come back and check these once the engine's up and running. The next part I've got to fit is this little the stabiliser for the radiator shroud. Usually on an MGB you'd have two of these. On this car I just have the one. Reason being, I've got a cold air intake that side, and there's no way I could fit this strengthener in place. So I'm just going to get that roughly in position, and then we'll get the washers. So we've got a flat washer and a spring washer on this side. I'm just going to get that started if I can. We've got the same up on the inside wing here. So I'll just get that. I'll use a socket just to put the one on the shroud here. Again, not too much pressure on those. I'll just use a 1/2 inch spanner just to pull this one up into place now. And I think that's enough to hold that in place. It just gives a little bit of extra stability to the radiator. So that's all tightened up now, and we can move on to the next part of the oil cooler hoses. So we've got our two oil cooler hoses here. One goes to the rear part of the engine here, and the next one is the front one is going on this on the oil filter housing. So let me get this undone as we've done before, and I'll just take the second part of the bung out. With that, I'll get the tissue again just to clean up the fittings. So yeah, I'm going to get them just to make sure they start with the finger first. You will see you might not be able to see it on the camera. It's a bit of an angle on the end of the fitting, so I just like to line that up so it's sort of a nice smooth transition between the pipe back into the filter housing there. I think that should sit on that, so we can just pinch this up. And the same as we've done with the oil cooler, we'll take a look at these once the engine's sort of run up to temperature. Make sure we've got no leaks, and usually if there's a tiny weep before, a little pinch up is enough to sort that out. So let's try and do this rear one. At the moment I haven't got the takeoff for the oil pressure gauge there. I think what I'll do is put this on first, and I should be able to get in and get that. So let's get the rear one fitted now. We'll take the bung out. And again, I just like to get them started. Wind this in a bit. Hopefully that should be tight enough. Just so I don't forget, I'm going to do the little one here that feeds this feels the oil pressure gauge. It should be exactly the same on your car. It's just I have a slightly different gauge arrangement, which uses these jig fittings rather than the original, which I think is a BSP. So that's just got that one started. I'll just use this the aluminium spanner just to tighten it up. It's all a little bit tight in here. I imagine my arm was right in the way of the camera as well, but unfortunately I couldn't do it from the angle that I was. There we go. So that should be our oil cooler fittings back on. So you've got the rear fitting there. This is the one for the pressure gauge takeoff. You've got the lower fitting here, which feeds into the oil filter, and obviously the front two there. And as we said, we're just trying to keep a nice smooth curve on these as they run from the oil cooler back to the engine block. On this car, I do have a cold air feed that takes just sits in the side of the grille here and just blows cold air into the over the carburettor, over the air filter. It's not a ram type system. It's just sort of diverts a little bit of cool air over the filter. So I've just got I think this is I think it's a 10 centimetre tube I've got here, and in here I've sort of got a welded in part that allow this to sort of be held in. So let me just see if I can slip that
Now you've got to be a little bit careful with these because it can look like it's going on. And then you sort of, as you turn it around, you see that it's not sat on there quite the way it should. But let me just see if we can. I think we've got that. Yeah, that's nice and fitted on there. And the other side's really simple. It's just got a little sort of a trumpet fizz. I think there's a little bit of a clean up. And all this does, it just sort of sits sort of loosely in the end, and then it just tucks down here, so it's against the grill. And all I've got is a long sort of zip tie, and this is just the zip tie just goes all the way around both the tube and that bell housing, and then I'll just pull that up. I like to just turn the zip tie around so that I haven't got the long end showing up. There we go. And I'll just get a pair of clippers on there, and then I'll put another zip tie at the top here. It should hopefully just hold everything in place for me. Obviously this is sort of unique to racing MGBs. You're probably not going to have this on a road car, and probably something that's not really worthwhile fitting, in all honesty. I think that's fine as it is. So I'm going to clip that off. Just turn that only just for show to make it look a little bit nicer. And then I'm just going to clip the one that's in the front here. So that's just there. And that's the cold air feed installed. I can fit one of the radiator hoses, the lower hose. You'll see here these are a Samco Sport Classic hose, really nicely made, a silicone hose made in the UK. I think this one it's probably 3 or 4 years old and still in really great condition. They do seem to hold up very well, especially when, you know, I've had top hoses burst in the past that are quite literally just a few months old. These do seem very good, especially for motorsport use. They are a bit expensive, but I guess that's so you get what you pay for it in the case of these. So let me just try and just push it, which is on a good way, and then just get the top one. There we go. So that's sort of sat nicely on there. Turn this around. I do find a socket's just a little bit easier for fitting these Jubilee clips in a screwdriver. Just sort of just holds on quite nicely. Good, nice pinch up on that. Do the same on this lower hose. Make sure it's sort of got over the lip of the radiator. I think what I'm going to have to do again is to come round to where the camera is, I'm afraid. There we go. So just to show you the rear hose, hopefully it's a bit dark down here, but we should be able to just give you a quick demonstration. I mean, I have just tightened it up, and you can see how useful these little sockets are for getting down into these tight spaces. There we go. So we just pull that up, and that's the lower hose done. I've got a little additional catch tank here for the radiator. This is a very nice, useful addition to the car. It basically we've got a hose that would normally be the overflow hose coming out to the radiator. That just sort of sits into this bottle. Then I've just attached it to the back of the radiator shroud there. I think the bottle comes from a TR4, but I mean any bottle would do. This just looked nice and sort of was in keeping with the rest of the car. That hose goes all the way in and goes to the bottom of the bottle there. Basically, usually in an MGB the expansion tank is just this top part of the radiator, and obviously with racing and that kind of thing, these engines are working hard. And I found what could be happening is I'd be pushing water out of the car, then down underneath. It was actually interfering with the rear wheels. I was losing grip in certain places. Usually at the start of the race when the radiator sort of was full. So this just goes into the expansion bottle here, and so it'll fill that bottle up when it's hot, and as the engine cools it runs back down again.
And it's worked perfectly for a few years now. Hardly ever have to touch the radiator at all during race meetings. It just looks after itself, which is very useful. Moving inside the car, we've now got the gear stick to fit. Probably one of the most important parts to look at on this is the bush section. Often these are missing from the car entirely. They do have a tendency to sort of fall off when you try and put the gear stick in. So the top knob is still in place. So I know that the stick goes in this way. You'll see, you might not be able to see because the thing's in the way. It does have a very slight angle on the stick. I think it curves back slightly, and then the plate you'll see. It only goes on a certain way against the holes at the bottom. So let me just see if I can get myself up in. And I've still got the little brass bushing in there that's on the spring. So let me just see if we can. So you've got a couple of just these cutouts on the side that correspond with the top of the gearbox there. So let's try that again. Okay, so I think that feels like it's sat in, and what I often do is put it into gear. Yeah, and there's not that much. If you've got a lot of movement on that stick, you'll know that your bush hasn't gone in correctly. So we'll turn this top plate around. It only goes one way, and then we can start putting these special screws in. So let me just see if we can get them started. Now it's a little bit of an oddball car because it's basically a 3 synchro tunnel, but we've got a 4 synchro gearbox in it. So your gearbox will be, your sort of aperture, your opening will be different to what we have here. I mean, fundamentals are similar. I mean, I'd say if anything, this car's a little bit harder than a normal sort of wide tunnel to get the gear stick and bits back in, but possibly easier than a 3 synchro. So I think we've got all 3 started. Now all I use to tighten these up, I don't actually use the top part of the ratchet. To tighten these up, I'm just going to use just a socket extension. I'm just going to do these up by hand. They don't need too much sort of torque on them. That's all 3 pinched up. Now again, another slightly oddball thing in this car is I have a leather gear lever gaiter rather than the rubber one. I had some issues with the rubber one actually pulling the car out of gear, which was a sort of a strange thing. I guess it's because we've got a kind of a mishmash of parts here. So I've just gone for a much softer sort of leather one, and that will just sit in place. It uses the original sort of chrome retaining ring, and you just got to sort of work out how to get this work these creases out, and then we'll just put the top cap, the retaining ring over the top, and then get a couple of the screws started. And usually I just have to sort of jiggle the leather around to make sure that it stayed in position. So let me get one. And then number 4, and you see I'm going to get all 4 of these started, and it's quite important to try and pull this chrome ring down all 4 at the same time. So rather than going too much on one side, just sort of do the opposites first. Again, you know, just the very end of your fingers to do that. I think I've pinched the leather on that one a little bit. That's right. And that's the gear stick back in. As we said, in your car, most likely it's going to be different to that, but the fundamentals are still the same. Probably the most important bit is making sure that plastic bush stays in place when you fit the gear stick for the first time. You can always tell if you can move that stick a lot in the gears, it means that plastic bush has come out. That's nice and sort of firm. So I think we've got that right. that is now the short engine in place, and everything that I can get fitted has been now fitted. I've still got the cylinder head to do. I'm going to do that as another video though, hopefully in the next week or so. So stay tuned for that one. I wanted to give a special mention to Steve Denton, who also has a YouTube channel. Like me, he enjoys messing around on old cars, and strange enough, he lives about a mile from me, and we only found out about each other a few weeks ago. So hello to Steve, and I'll put a link in your channel below. Hopefully we'll do a collaboration video soon, once things are back to normal. Hopefully you'll join me next time when we're putting the cylinder head back onto the car and sort of finishing off the ancillaries and hopefully getting the engine running. Race wise, I'm not quite sure where we'll be. It's now the 18th of March, and it looks like the next race might be the end of July, but at the moment we're still waiting and seeing. So I hope you're all staying safe, and I hope you'll join me soon for the next videos. Many thanks. Bye.